want to revolt. With a final nod to the men, Asher exited the building. Isaiah Michaels. No way. He didn't believe it for a second. The man was as squared away as they came. But he'd obey the orders, whether he'd like them or not. He walked across the dusty yard to the 22-ton MRAP and settled into the vehicle commander's seat with a grimace. The monster machine's air conditioner hadn't yet had a chance to penetrate the suffocating interior heat. The other MRAP, with Vehicle Commander Sergeant B.J. King, the squad's fire team leader, would also participate in this mission. Private Jasper Owens sat in the driver's seat next, frowning at Asher. "What's wrong, Sergeant?" "You got the target, sir?" The shouted question came from Staff Sergeant Mark Dobbs before Asher could answer Owens. Dobbs was their squad medic and was seated in the far back, finishing off an apple cinnamon Ranger bar from his MRE. "I got it," Asher said, turning to face the guys in the back. They sat along the walls of the vehicle, facing each other with their eyes on him while he struggled to push the words past his lips. The guys exchanged glances. "You going to fill us in?" Owens asked. Asher shook his head and lifted the radio to his mouth. "King, this is James. How copy? Over." "James, this is King. That's a good copy. Just waiting for our orders. Over." "Ash?" This prompt came from Sergeant Mitch Sampson, their gunner and resident artist, also known as Michelangelo, who was seated behind Owens. Yeah, it's..." "What, man?" Owens said. "Spit it out." A pause. "Sergeant?" Asher met each one of his unit members' eyes before locking gazes with the engineering sergeant of the team and Asher's best friend, Gavin Black. Raking a hand over his buzz cut, Asher finally said into the radio so King could hear as well. "It's Michaels. They're saying he's a traitor, selling off information to jihadists, and we're to bring him in for questioning. Over." Protests erupted in the vehicle and over the radio. Asher let them vent before raising a hand. "I agree, but Captain said there's evidence and he's seen it." Silence fell. The only noise came from the rumbling engine. Finally, Dobbs blew out a breath and Asher narrowed his eyes. "I don't believe it either, but these are the orders." "Then let's do what we've got to do," King said. Over. "I'm not doing it," Owens said. The others stayed silent. Owens was the youngest of the group and gave the appearance of being unconcerned about the consequences of disobeying a direct order. Asher knew differently and lasered him with a hard glare. "I get it, Owens. I feel the same way you do, but let's at least be the ones to find him and ask him what's going on." Owens finally nodded, and Asher studied the outraged men. "Because if we don't do it, someone else will." Heads bobbed in agreement. Owens set his jaw and cranked the engine, then lifted his radio. "King, this is Owens. You take the lead. We'll be right behind you. Over." "That's a good copy, Owens. Stepping off in 2 mics." King acknowledged the plan, and 2 minutes later the MRAP in front of them started to move. 15 minutes later, the dust beat against the ballistic glass windows as they rolled along at 5 miles per hour in the Baraki Barak district in Logar province, Afghanistan. Asher gripped his Colt M4 rifle. The MP4 at his feet would be for close-quarter fighting, and the Beretta pistol for even closer. He hoped he wouldn't have to use any of them. His nerves twitched as he strained to see through the plumed cloud ahead of him. Owens drove with tense fingers wrapped around the wheel. They rode slowly through the wide-open expanse of land that had become known as a death trap, thanks to the improvised explosive devices that were often planted along the route. Asher would have recommended taking a different way. However, this was the fastest course into Kabul, and they could speed up shortly. "Hey, what's that?" Sampson shouted over the engine noise and pointed. "You see that? A vehicle just went behind that hill. White SUV." Asher squinted, trying to see what his buddy had managed to spot out the side window through the dust cloud. "Hill? What hill?" The tension in the vehicle grew to mammoth proportions, and while the air conditioner had finally cooled the interior, sweat started to flow again. "King..."